actually my first fan, and he was the, he would breathe so much life into me. He believed in me so much more than I ever believed in myself. Wow. And I remember him saying, "You should sing that song." And when he died, I sang it at his funeral. Oh, and it was one of the hardest songs I've ever sang. But in that moment, like that was when, I knew things were about to change. And, but yeah, and that song has helped so many people. And it's, I don't know, it's been a bit of a thesis statement for me. And so when he said, write a good song for me, he knew I had already written one, at least in his eyes, because it was his favorite song ever. So he knew, at least he had proof on his phone that I was capable of writing something great. And I guess his last charge was to please keep going and don't stop. And as
it's got to feel good for him to be like, even in a moment, like, I mean, that's crazy to say this. What am I talking about? But in a moment of leaving the earth, to know that you have a son or someone who you've created that's capable. You have a child that you believe is capable. I wonder what, you know what I'm saying? Or something like that?
No, and my other siblings are also very capable. He's very proud of all of us equally. But I think he knew something about me was different very young. I was a very quiet kid, a very nerdy kid. I had his name and his eyes, but outside of that, we were so different. So I think he just knew I was going to do something different. He's
probably intrigued, I bet.
Yeah, and I like picked up guitar and taught myself, and he was like just always mesmerized by like my musical ability, because it seemed like magic to him, because it was God-given. Nobody taught me how to do this.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Oh, you just picked it up and started playing?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I learned some tablature but I sucked real bad then. But that was
this is you right here?
Yeah, that's probably like a week after I got my first guitar, and if that even.
Let me see
a couple
some of
days.
This.
Then we're watching Mama's Family. Yep. Yeah, that's Lithium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is that? Is that your dad now?
No, that was just some random old dude. And this is after my dad had passed away. Like none of this stuff, like on my whole music, I didn't have any music out when he was alive.
Oh, okay. So they're just packaging this all up.
Yeah, this is all like old VHS footage from when I was a kid. That's me getting my first guitar for my 16th birthday, even though I look like I'm 12.
Look how hot. Look, go back. Look, hold on. Yeah, hold on. Right. A little more right there. Look how happy. You can see though how happy it cool.
Hands through the hair,
you can see for a second. See if you can catch his face a second earlier, maybe a second later.
It was.
You can see how right there. You can just see how happy he is. That's cool, dude.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be cool now.
No,
it's so fun, dude.
I might actually have. I might actually be able to talk to a girl now.
Oh, dude, yeah. At least if you walk up with a guitar, at least you're rocking this like, hey, at least then they'll be like, hey, what do you do? You know what I'm saying? At least you have some sort of semblance instead of putting hair in your eyes and hiding behind it.
That's what I did. I said nothing to nobody.
Oh, dude, that was most of my childhood when I was growing up. I was thinking about what are the responsibilities of a son? People don't think about that a lot. I think about what do my parents owe me a lot as a kid, or I have probably, like my parents didn't do this or my parents didn't do that. That's been, or some things didn't happen and should have happened. That's fair. But when I start to harp on the other stuff and it gets into this like, oh, woe is me or pity me type of thing, that can be kind of a unsafe area to go into. But the two can be easily connected, like things that, yes, a parent should do these things, or those things should be, a child's life should include these things, and they don't happen. And then, well, a parent, they don't owe you these things, but attaching those together. But I never think about like, what are my responsibilities as a son, or as a child? You know what I'm saying? You don't think that, because at a certain point you do have some responsibility in it yourself, Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of thought about that, and I grew up thinking the same thing as you, like maybe things should have been different, or But at the same time, I tend to think about my parents as children because they had me as children. They were like, it was a shotgun wedding. My mama was 6 months pregnant. They were teenagers having babies. And so I also think about them like, oh my gosh, like I have a lot of sympathy for them as I was older. But, growing up, I had, anger and resentment towards certain things that I did not understand. But I've kind of tried to, understand that, it's very like biological about like kind of how fathers and sons are just children and their parents. In the beginning of your father is like superhuman, or he's a superhero. Like humanize, demonize, and idolize is kind of how I put it down. So in the beginning, you idolize your father, and you idolize everything they do. I remember idolizing my father, like wanting to be a boxer just like him, wanting to do so many things like him, and I would hide in his shadow, and I idolized him my whole childhood. And then once I got into my teen years, that's when that separation starts to begin, and you start to demonize your parents. And you go through this whole demonization of your father or your parents, and it's actually very biological. This is how genetic diversity was spread, because we're a tribal species. So like the young boy, the young man in his reproductive years would start to demonize the parents and get away from the tribe and go join another tribe.
So he can procreate.
So he can procreate and create genetic diversity.
Right, because if he procreates too close to his own tribe, you also risk
inbreeding.
Yeah, like the guy that taught me how to drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Then and I'm not saying no shade, Brandon. I think he was bred properly. It was just, God put some odd paints in his palate.
We love you, Brandon.
Yeah, we do love you. And actually, he passed away a few years ago, and we do love you. He's a special guy.
Oh man, I'm so sorry, Brandon. But yeah, and then as I think eventually you come back home. There's always like this prodigal son kind of moment, and that's where you humanize your father, because that's what happened with me. Like you start off as a kid idolizing it. You get to teenage years, those years that he got me that guitar. I was probably going to start demonizing him soon. And
he wanted you to at least have a backbeat for it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Something to put all those angsty lyrics
at
least
into. Put that anger to lyrics.
Yeah, at least make it a bop. And then I remember when I was 25, like I was sitting on the porch with my dad, and I just remembered I was like, "You're just a dude."
Oh yeah.
And that's when the humanization hit, and I was like, "You're just another dude doing the best you can," and I could see it in his eyes, and we were just kind of like. We were, the father and son dynamic was still there, but he was now a friend and something bigger than a father.
Well, he's another human, like you're saying.
He's just another human.
And that's a tough moment. And it's an interesting moment, too, to look at, because it almost breaks down the wars you were fighting, or the whatever. It breaks down like a lot.
Down everything.
Right. It breaks down the pedestal you held this person on in a way, some of it. But it also breaks down if you've been demonizing it, like, well, who am I fighting? I'm not fighting against, the 32-year-old dad, the guy that I knew who like walked by me and didn't glance, or whatever your thoughts are, whatever your whatever like you're envisioning. That's not there anymore, and it's like, then this whole like baton that I'm still carrying of anger, it's not even real.
Yeah.
So what's really happening here with me? And that's like a moment you kind of have to look at yourself as well. And that's kind of painful.
Yeah, it's very much a self-reflective moment, and you kind of start to see kind of like, man, I was a selfish little shit, or I was, maybe you were justified in certain areas, at the end of the day, they're just another human doing the best they can, just like you.
And who am I going to be now? That's the thing too.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go back and I put on sometimes I go back and I'm the same person, but more often than not these days, I do a decent job of like, well, let me be the leader, instead of saying you should have led me, or you should let me grow up. It's like, how many times am I going to fucking miss the grow up bus? Like I'm on it. Mm-hmm. But still, sometimes I'll be there at the stop in the morning, and I'll be like, nah, I'm going to let that bitch go today. You know what I'm saying? I ain't getting on that bitch today. No. So some of that's interesting, and it's interesting to look at, and you're still just a human looking at it and trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's I think all part of the journey, and like
Yeah.
it's rooted in something very old. Like I always thought like that